Hello, I have been thinking about creative fear a lot lately, and I've been writing about it a lot too, and I've been trying to get my head around it. And I have been speaking to members of the Confident Creative Club. People have been emailing me in response to my newsletter from last week, and I've also had some conversations with some of you guys here on Instagram, all about creative fear, because you could divide creative fear into fear of success or fear of failure. But what does that actually feel like? What does that actually look like? And how does it stop you from pushing forward? I think what it can feel like is different for everybody, yet there are also some really interesting similarities. So I thought I would describe some of the creative fears that I've come across after talking with a number of creatives over the past week or so. And I've got my notebook here that I will refer to. One fear is the fear of other people's opinions. So this could be faceless and nameless people, maybe from the internet. It could be our families, such as our partner or our parents. Or it could be people that used to be in our lives, such as our school friends. Or another one could be the fear about not being up to the challenge of whatever project or task that you've set your sights on. And I actually had this fear just yesterday. I was putting off starting a writing project or restarting a writing project after a week off because the fear had set in during my week away from it, and I was now worried that I wasn't up to the challenge of completing it, of doing it justice. And of course, if I kept putting off getting back to that writing project, I would never see if I wasn't up to the challenge. So it was easier not to do it in case I found out that I wasn't talented enough, and then all my creative dreams would be dashed. Then there is the fear of being seen. It's the fear of being vulnerable and the fear of being the focus or the subject of a discussion. So, for example, me doing this and talking to camera brings out fear in me because I'm fearing that you are going to be looking at me, not just my face or what's behind me or what I'm wearing, but also you're listening to my words and I'm giving you my opinions. And that is really vulnerable for me because I'm sharing something about my creative life and what's had an impact upon me. Now, for some people, being the centre of attention and being talked about is something that they love. Whereas for me, it's hell. Or at least I believe it would be hell. It's that kind of thinking about it is actually worse than the reality of it. Then there is the fear of being a beginner at something and not being perfect and getting something wrong. And I think I've had quite a lot of discussions about this over the past couple of days, in that if, for example, you are a musician, there is a right and a wrong way to play a piece. But if you're writing, then a lot of that comes from within you and from your thoughts, your creative ideas, the stories that you want to tell, and it's subjective. But then there's that feeling as well that it has to be perfect. But who decides if it's perfect or not. And I know there's quite a few people that has said to me separately recently that they fear being that beginner, that they fear not knowing everything about what it is they either want to write about or how to write a novel, or all the different terminology. And I know that, again, that is something that I have struggled with, and it's made me feel like an imposter because I don't know the terminology, if you like, and I haven't officially been taught how to write. And of course, there's that fear of looking stupid, of tripping up and everyone laughing at you, almost like you are back at school and you drop your tray full of your lunch in the school cafeteria, the lunch hall, and everyone goes, hey, like that, and you just feel so stupid. And it's a bit like that feeling. Not only is all the attention on you as everyone sort of swivels their necks to see who had made that noise, but there's also the jeering that goes with it. And I don't know why we feel like that with our writing, because in reality, especially when we're beginners, nobody is actually looking at what we're doing. I guess this might happen if you are sharing your work with your family or with your friends, and they just happen to be super critical people. Maybe they think they're helping, but they're not. If you're not sharing it with anybody else, then who is going to see if you do make a mistake, if you make a grammatical mistake, if you make a technological mistake, if you put something up on as a blog post, for example, and then have second thoughts and want to delete it? Who's going to know it's there unless you've told them? Now, I don't fully know as yet what all the answers are in terms of all these different fears that we've had. And I've only mentioned a few here as well. I know there are lots more that people have that sort of blow around in their head, sort of spiraling and getting bigger and bigger and bigger the more they sort of think about it. So yeah, I don't have any specific answers, but I do know what has helped me, and that was really digging into my fears. Well, first of all, identifying that I have got a fear or a number of fears, and it isn't that I'm just beating myself up for being lazy, if I've been procrastinating, or untalented, or not worthy of a writing life. So simply identifying that I have got these fears in the first place is almost reassuring. And the fact that I knew other people had very, very similar fears as me was also reassuring, because then I saw that it was part of the creative process, that I wasn't unique in any way. I was simply going through this kind of mindset angst that comes with being a writer or a creative. So how did I personally push through it? How have I got to the point where I can now stand in front of a camera and talk about my fears and write about my fears? So I had to really think, what is it that my fears feel like? Sometimes it comes to me like an image in my head. So it may be a particularly famous author that has been splashed through the tabloids, and is known throughout the world. And to me, that kind of intrusion into my life is a real fear for me. So that I have a specific image of what it looks like. But then other times I just have words or a sense or a feeling of what my fears might be, such as yesterday or the day before, when I was procrastinating because I didn't think I was talented enough to write what I wanted to write. And as I've said before, this is when a writing journal really, really helps. So, for example, even today, I was going to meet some friends for an afternoon tea, a treat, and I literally had a thought as I was driving. I had to go past the petrol station, and I had these kind of negative thoughts. And I thought, oh, that also applies to my writing and my creativity. I have similar thoughts that I'm an imposter, that I'm treading on somebody else's territory. So I got to the place where we're having cream tea, and I wrote 2 paragraphs down in my writing journal so that I can unpick that at a later date. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the answers are all within us, but we just have to peel the onion or go digging and go searching for them and asking ourselves why we're feeling this way. And that's why I do love a writing journal. But the other thing that could help is talking about it. And I know I spent many hours talking about my fears and my ideas throughout the first lockdown here in England, on dog walks with my husband. We simply just had that time to talk about it. And then I started talking to other creatives about it, and I found that others felt in a similar way to myself. If you are needing help to kind of unpick what's going on in your head, to figure out why you have these fears, and you want to talk to some like-minded individuals, then do have a look online for a kind of writing membership, mentorship, or something like that. There are lots out there, including my own, which is called the Confident Creative Club. As well as writing in a journal, you can meet like-minded people who reassure you that it's not just you, that they have similar feelings and they don't need to keep holding you back. You can push through them. You can push them to one side and really go for it with your creative dreams, ideas, ambitions, and projects.